Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we just hit 3,130 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Shout out to all the subscribers, and special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, Rye Guy, Brendan Nelson's Haircut, Salacious, Crumb, It's Hoof, the Reno, and TVO. All right, let's just go ahead and dive right into the second phase of wide receivers for the Seattle Seahawks. And if you want a primer on the kind of thing that I'm looking for, go watch yesterday's video where I evaluated the first wave of wide receivers that I would have considered. So today, we're going to be taking a look at receivers who are expected to be drafted somewhere between the 4th round and the 6th round. So, later rounds of the draft. And I freely admit that it's these receivers that we're more likely to get than the first wave just because, well, I don't think we're going to use our first pick on a receiver, but I could see us using a later round pick on one for sure. In fact, I would very much want us to. So, we're going to go through 6 players today, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on each one of them. So let's just go ahead and start with player number 1. And this is Josh Palmer of Tennessee. So here's what I can say about Josh Palmer, 21 years old. He's 6'1", 210 pounds, so he's got the size on lockdown. And his stats, one thing that's interesting is that Tennessee did use him on a lot of jet sweeps and end arounds when he was at Tennessee, or, well, a lot, 8 over the course of a 4-year career. Notable, seems to be part of his game. This first year, 2017 freshman, he had about 100 receiving yards, not a big part of the offense. The next year, 23 catches for 484 yards and 2 touchdowns, and some good work as an end around and jet sweep player. 2019, 34 catches for 457 yards, 1 touchdown. And last year, 33 catches, 475 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So the production is alarmingly mediocre. He's never had more than 500 receiving yards in a season. He had more than 500 scrimmage yards in 2018, but that's it. So let's definitely digest that. And well, I'll discuss why that might be in a moment. But next, let's take a look at his approximate draft value. Walter Football has him going anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round. And Pro Football Focus really likes him. They think he's actually going to be a high 3rd round pick. But everyone else is a little less high on him. ESPN thinks he's going to be a 4th rounder. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a 5th rounder. And the Draft Network actually thinks he's going to go undrafted. So there's a pretty wide range here. I get the sense he's going to be a 4th to 6th round pick. So Josh Palmer, what we can say about him as a player, he's a good athlete for his size. As we already said, he's got pretty good size. He's a good athlete for it. He's got solid hands and body control, makes plays at all levels of the field. When I watched him play, when I watched his reel, I noticed that he was doing a lot of different things. He was catching deep passes. He was catching intermediate stuff. He was catching short stuff along the sideline to move the chains. He was doing a lot of different things. He had a lot of versatility. And I don't know if he has the top end speed to burn players in the NFL, but I think he's able to work. He's able to get open, and I think he's able to make plays without that top end speed. So that's definitely good. That's definitely something that could be valuable in the Shane Waldron offense. Bad QB play at Tennessee limited his production significantly. I already addressed the fact that his production at Tennessee was not great. He never really had a very good quarterback. So this is another player who is probably going to be a little undervalued in the draft because his QBs just couldn't get him the ball. Now, as for some downsides, he is not a great route runner yet, although that is something that you would expect most players to need to work on. And no matter how you slice it, his production in Tennessee was not very good. So there are some limitations here. I can't say there's anything overwhelmingly awesome about Josh Palmer. I didn't notice any tremendous yard after the catch talent, but I did think he was pretty good at Tennessee, and this would be one of my first late round targets for the Seahawks. All right, target number 2. Austin Watkins Jr. of the UAB Blazers. And if anybody wants any I don't know, things to push you in the right direction, the UAB Blazers logo is very similar to the Seattle Dragons. So I could not help but notice that when I was scouting him, and I thought that was kind of cool. So anyway, all right. Austin Watkins. Could not figure out how old he is, but like I said, he played at UAB. He's got good size, 6'2", 207 pounds. First year in college football in 2018, he only had 7 catches, barely played. 2019, however, was a breakout season for him, 57 catches, almost 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. And then the shortened 2020 season, he still produced 34 catches, 468 yards, and 3 touchdowns. All right, his approximate draft value, according to the professionals, Pro Football Focus thinks he's going to be a 4th to 5th round pick. The Draft Network agrees, 4th to 5th. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a 6th round pick in all likelihood. Walter Football has him going anywhere from the 5th to the 7th, and ESPN thinks he's about a 7th round prospect. So definitely a later round guy. But one thing that caught my eye when I was watching him play, when I watched some of the highlight reels, when I watched some of the tape, he's fast for his size. So he's got good size and he's got good speed. And he knows how to use his size too. He's got great physicality, he's got good ball skills, and maybe the most appealing thing is that he's exceptional after the catch. He knows how to get extra yards. UAB used him as a deep threat a lot, so he didn't get to show those skills that often, but when he did, I definitely felt like this was a guy who knows how to make guys miss, break tackles, and make big plays after the catch. He gets to his top speed very quickly, which served him very well when he was in college, facing admittedly not great competition. And his route running is already pretty good. He ran a lot of different routes at UAB. That's one thing that I noticed. He probably needs to get better for the NFL, but what do you expect from a 4th, 5th, 6th round draft pick? You're going to have to work on some stuff. So he needs to get a little better there. And he might not have the top end speed to beat defenses over the top. Even though he's pretty fast for his size, it might not be enough for him to become some deep threat who just beats double coverage all the time and catches 60-yard touchdowns all day. So, yeah, I like Austin Watkins, but he's not the DK Metcalf type of blend of super speed and super size. All right. Now let's go to our third player, and this is the Iowa guy, Smith. I'm going to have to work on this pronunciation, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Smith Marset. Emar Smith Marset. Don't know how old he is, but played at Iowa. He was a Hawkeye. 6'2", which is good, and 186 pounds, which is a little lean, not just for this offense, but for the NFL in general. He is going to have to maybe fill out that frame a little bit. But Emar Smith Marset is somebody who a lot of people have brought up to me lately. I watched him. I saw what the Iowa Hawkeyes were doing with him, and I was intrigued. So Emar Smith Marset, his stats through 4 years at Iowa. First year wasn't used that much. 18 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. A lot of end arounds and jet sweeps, though, and more on that in a second. 2018, he got involved a little bit more. 23 catches, 361 yards, 3 touchdowns, more end around action, 9 for 71 yards. 2019, 44 catches, breakout year right here, 722 yards, 5 touchdowns. 11 rush attempts for 108 yards, and I think this is actually a typo, my bad. I think it was 3 touchdowns. And 2020, 25 receptions, 345 yards, 4 touchdowns, and more work as an end-around receiver. 7 attempts, 554 yards, 1 touchdown. So, solid production. He never had a huge breakout year, but that can be easily excused by the fact that he played at Iowa. So, anyway, approximate draft value for Emar Smith Marset. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a lower 3rd-round pick. Walter Football thinks he'll go anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th. The Draft Network has him as a low 4th rounder. Pro Football Focus has him as a low 4th rounder as well. And ESPN has him as a low 5th rounder to 6th rounder. So wide range here, but I expect him to go somewhere in the 4th round, I think. So what is Emar Smith Marset? He's got great speed, which makes him a true vertical threat. I watched him play at Iowa. Iowa mostly used him as a deep threat, which isn't exactly what we're looking for, but it's a skill that is undeniably valuable in the NFL and definitely something that you can use with Wilson because of his deep ball. He's got great return skills. He was a great kick returner at Iowa, and his return skills should make him a potentially good NFL kick returner, and he should be able to parlay those kick return skills into a yard after catch threat. We didn't see him do it that often at Iowa because they mostly used him as a deep threat, but those skills should translate well to him being a yard after the catch player. Saw frequent use as a jet sweep receiver with good success. You can see that over 4 years at Iowa, he carried the ball on rushing plays over 30 times, 32 times over 4 years. That's what, almost one every 2 games. So they'd really like to use him on those end rounds more than once every 2 games, I think, actually. So if I'm right about Shane Waldron valuing that talent and wanting to use that in his new offense, Emar Smith-Marset fits like a glove. Low production, which I already addressed, is easily excused as a product of Iowa's bad QB play. He's got some off-field concerns. I think he's been arrested for a DUI. He's got some stuff in his suitcase, some baggage, if you will. So that's a consideration. He's a little lean. Like I said, 6'2", 186 pounds. That's pretty lean. He might need to put on a little weight just so he doesn't get hurt all the time in the NFL. We'll have to see. And as of right now, I think he's more of a deep threat than anything, which is good, but it's not exactly what we're looking for here. So Emar Smith-Marset, I think he's going to develop into a yard after the catch threat, but at first, he's probably just going to be a deep threat because that's how Iowa used him. He was a track star in college. That's the skill that he had that translated the best to the field, and I expect them to be utilizing that in the NFL, to utilize that in the NFL more than anything at first. Okay, player number 4. This is Frank Darby from Arizona State. And Arizona State has turned out some first-round receivers in recent years, Brandon Ayuk and the N'Keal Harry. And Frank Darby, he's not going to be the next first-round pick from Arizona State, but he is going to be a draft pick. And he kind of caught my attention with some of the stuff he did. So he's 6 feet tall, 194 pounds, good enough, just barely good enough for Shane Waldron's offense. His stats in his college career, 2017, 9 catches for 234 yards, really good yards per catch stats, 2 touchdowns, 1 rush attempt for a 21-yard touchdown. 2018, he had 21 catches for 482 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2019 was kind of his breakout year, 31 catches, 616 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You can see throughout these first 3 years, he had a tremendous yard per reception, almost 20, actually right around 20 over the course of 3 full seasons. And then in 2020, he barely did anything, 6 catches, 46 yards, 1 touchdown, just kind of a nothing year for him, unfortunately. So his draft value is, according to the Draft Network, right around the 5th, maybe high 6th round. Pro Football Network, high 6th. Walter Football thinks he's going to be a 4th to 6th round pick. ESPN has him in the 6th to 7th round, and Pro Football Focus has him as a high 7th round pick. So you could definitely get him pretty late. I think he's going to be like a 5th or 6th round pick, if I had to estimate. He's a good all-around athlete. I watched some of his tape, and my impression was that he could do a lot of different things. He caught some short passes, but he also went deep with some success. He's physical and tough. I saw him win a lot of 50-50 balls. I saw him work hard for some of these catches. He's a solid route runner with good hands. So he's kind of like Josh Palmer to me. He's a good all-around player. He doesn't necessarily excel in any area, but I'm seeing a lot of solid overall things from him. He's probably going to be a good short pass catcher in the NFL and an intermediate pass catcher in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to develop great yard after the catch skills. He might be more of a possession guy in the NFL, but there is some value in that. His top end speed is not great. I'm worried that in the NFL he's not going to become a deep threat he was a little bit of one at Arizona State, but it should be different in the NFL. And even though I can excuse it due to his QB play and the unfortunate timing of his senior year happening to be the COVID year, his production in the NCAA was not great. So that's Frank Darby, and that is prospect number 4. So prospect number 5, Seth Williams of Auburn. All right, so this guy, he's big. I couldn't figure out his age, but he's pretty big. He's 6'2", 224 pounds. That's not that far away from tight end type stuff, really. He kind of straddles the line, you could say. 2018, his first season for Auburn, he had 26 catches for 534 yards and 5 touchdowns. Great yard per catch stats. 2019, almost 60 catches, 830 yards, 8 touchdowns, breakout year. And then last year, 2020, 47 catches, 760 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So decent production, not amazing, but pretty good for the value that you're going to get for him in the draft. Pro Football Network and Pro Football Focus both think he's going to be a 4th rounder. The Draft Network has him as a 5th rounder. Walter Football has him going anywhere from the 4th to the 6th. And ESPN has him completely unranked, which is kind of weird. I don't see why you wouldn't rank this guy. He's a very cerebral player, it seems to me. He's got great hands off the line that he can use to win at the line of scrimmage against defensive backs despite his relative lack of quickness. He's very strong. He can win a lot of those 50-50 balls. He doesn't need to get open in order to make catches. And I know that's kind of a scary thing when you get to the NFL, but I did notice that it seems like he knows how to win those 50-50 balls. He's great to win in contested catch situations. He should be a good red zone threat. And I know a lot of people want DK Metcalf to become a great red zone threat. It hasn't totally manifested itself yet, but Seth Williams might become a great red zone threat if the Seahawks drafted him in the later rounds. He's also sure to be a great special teams player. He's already proven that in college, and he should continue to do that in the NFL. The downsides for him are he's not a great athlete. He's not like overly fast or quick, or he's not going to blow anybody off the field with his pure talent. He's dependent heavily on his mind and his strength and things like technique. His hips are a little stiff as well. So intriguing prospect is Seth Williams. He would be the 5th guy that I would consider taking a look at. And 6th and final for this video today is Dez Fitzpatrick of Louisville. All right, let's take a look at what I found on Dez Fitzpatrick from Louisville. He's 23 years old, so he's already a little older, which is not ideal. Good size, 6'2", 202 pounds. His college career was pretty productive, and he really had a great freshman year with Lamar Jackson, 45 catches, 700 yards, and 9 touchdowns. 2018, he had 31 catches, 422 yards, 3 touchdowns. Lamar left, and he dropped off a little bit. The next year, 2019, he came back, 35 catches, 635 yards, 6 touchdowns. And last year, he had maybe his best year yet, 43 catches, 833 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So all-around productive 4 years at Louisville, and some of his lesser productive years were easily accredited to not playing with a good quarterback because Lamar Jackson left. So ESPN thinks he's going to be a 5th round pick. Draft Network thinks he's going to be a late 5th round pick. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a fringe 7th round pick. So does Walter Football. And Pro Football Focus doesn't think he's going to get drafted at all, unranked. So he's physical and a great route runner, and he's got great ball skills. So he's not a guy who's necessarily going to do a great job getting open with his speed, but he's going to get open enough with his great route running, and then he's going to use his physicality and ball skills to bring down tough catches. That's kind of what I see Dez Fitzpatrick doing in the NFL. He's got good run after the catch ability as well, which we all know we like that around here. We're valuing that a lot this year. He's a solid blocker, which I think that Shane Waldron also really likes. Now, like Seth Williams, he's not a notably good athlete. He's not super fast or quick or anything like that. He's going to be dependent on his ability to win these contested catches. He needs to expand his route tree as well. He had a limited route tree at Louisville, but that's something that a lot of these college guys are going to have to work on in the NFL. And maybe the biggest red flag would be there were times in his career when he would just go games without having a big impact on his team. So Des Fitzpatrick would be the sixth and final guy I would consider looking at in the later rounds of the draft. So that is 6 wide receivers who caught my eye when I was scouting out late round receivers this time around. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. What do you think about these 6 guys? Who do you like? Who do you not like? Who jumps out to you? Feel free to go watch highlight reels of them on YouTube and let me know. I may have missed some players. If there are some players out there that you really like that I didn't bring up, feel free to do so in the comments. There are definitely some guys who slip through the cracks. No matter how hard I work, I'm going to miss guys. It is what it is. So next up, we're going to go through the true sleepers at wide receiver in this draft. But that's tomorrow's video. Thank you for watching. Peace out. Go Hawks. Streams later. Maybe another video later if something happens. But these are my targets. What do you think?